That works. Hi, welcome to the Seattle Angel Meetup Group meeting. We're doing a pitch deconstruction today. The format of that will be a 1-minute pitch. We'll just go bang, bang, bang through everybody who wants to pitch. And then we'll give group feedback from Ramiro, Dan, and Elaine on, sort of the key things that you need to be thinking about. And then we as a group will vote, and 3 companies will be able to do 3-minute pitches with slides. So the 1-minute pitches, no slides, but the 3-minute pitch, you can have slides if you got them. And then we'll do individual feedback on each of those 3-minute pitches. Is there any question about the mechanism that we're going to go through?
I was just wondering, is it okay if I just listen in and not pitch? Okay.
Yeah. Although as a founder, I would urge you to try the 1-minute pitch regardless, because you have to practice the heck out of it for it to become effective, and it will evolve the more you practice it. But nonetheless,
it's a total safe space. So I would second the encouragement. Please try if you can.
So what to sort of frame this a little bit, we do a 1-minute pitch, a 3-minute pitch, and a 10-minute pitch as a part of the Seattle Angel Conference and the Transatlantic Angel Conference processes. And the 1-minute pitch virtually is intended to sort of map into that in-person thing where you've got a room of a couple hundred people and you're trying to move from person to person to person and have a thing to say that's interesting enough that they want to stick around for the second minute. And so this is really a question of getting from where you are to the next meeting to the next meeting. And for Seattle Angel Conference, there's 3 of those hoops to get into the finals that you need to do. But everybody in the Seattle Angel Conference does a 1-minute pitch. And the first impressions matter, and clarity on what you're doing matters. And so this is intended to give you a little bit of tightness in doing that process. So everybody who is going to pitch, go down to the reactions and hit the raise hand marker, and I will use that to drive things. And we'll just go bang, bang, bang down through, and then we'll do a debrief, and then we'll vote. Anybody else? Paul, you got to hit a different one if you're coming in. All right. I'll be using that list. That puts you in the top of the participants little window over there, so that lets me go. So I'm going to take Matt, and I'm going to spotlight Matt, and that should put him at the center of everything. And then go right ahead, Matt. As soon as you start, I'll give you the 1 minute.
Cool. All right, so I'm co-founder of Birdhouse, and we're building a network of home-based childcare built for quality and scale. So childcare is a massive market opportunity. It's $60 billion US market, and 90% of the market is actually fragmented into mom and pop centers. And yet there's still a huge lack of quality options for parents. So residentially dense neighborhoods like Magnolia or West Seattle have a huge amount of families, but they literally can't find childcare because there's a huge lack of commercial real estate availability for commercial centers to be built in these residentially dense neighborhoods. So to unlock supply in these areas, we're building out a network of premium micro centers out of residential homes that are cheap to start, quick to scale, tech-enabled, and local to families, which is more convenient for them. We're the right team to do it. Both my co-founder and I were former execs of a network of a VC-backed startup, which operated over 100 micro centers in Europe. We're looking for $250K just to get that initial proof of concept up and running. By investing in us, you're investing in a seasoned team, taking on a huge market, and really investing in the fabric of your local community and directly helping families that are in desperate need for care.
Almost. Got it. Thank you. Eugene, next.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eugene Levkovsky, and I'm a co-founder of Sule Group. And like I said, we're developers of social media and business ecosystem. We call it IC, and it's an integrated system. And we're focusing right now on social music platform and media outlets, and the focus will be developing the entire ecosystem, scale it, and fix huge problems with marketing paradigm, with social media. And the reason we focusing on music right now is because the music industry has been extremely damaged in the last 20 years with digital streaming platform and lack of distribution and sales of physical mediums. And fixing this problem is impossible without integrating with other aspects of social life. And that's what we're working on right now. And it's a huge opportunity. And we're in the process of building a test product right now and gaining traction. And we're seeking seed capital, at least $250,000 to $300,000 at the moment. And we're in an active fundraising stage. Thank you.
Okay,
Everyone.
thank you. Joanna.
Okay, so, okay, can you hear me now? Sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, okay. So imagine you arrive in new city and you want to explore it. So you arrived for a few days and want to have the best experience possible. Typically, what you would do, you would search the internet and find countless pages like 10 best things to do in Seattle or some travel agency offers, but you want to have more personalized experience. So we will provide you with a tool to explore the city independently, loaded with information about city gems and unusual places, organized into routes and themed collections, allowing you to interactively add your own locations and build personalized tours. And all this will be free for you. And you will be even rewarded for walking around the city. Our app is designed as a location-based game, making city tourism a fun experience for players. Now you might wonder, okay, but who will pay for all this? So our business model is straightforward and surprisingly unique. The reward system acts as a marketing channel for local businesses.
Thanks very much. Narendra.
Yeah, I was not prepared, but I'm going to say that. So I'm founder of Genomatics. My name is Narendra. Genomatics is focused on solving problem in NAST and NAFLD, which is a fatty liver disease. About 25% people in United States, 25 to 26% people in United States, and about 27% in worldwide, they are affected by fatty liver disease, whether they know it or not know it. And about 7% turn to liver cirrhosis, which is very, very high number. Not any drug is there, which is focusing on that early stage. Other drugs, such as now GLP-1 agonist, they are coming out, but they are focusing on actually weight loss and the diabetes. And fatty liver disease leads to several problems, which is like, can be diabetes, or can be hypercholesteremia, and something like that. I mean, this market is huge. What we are solving this disease is based on RNAi, which is a very recent development, and this causes this can help to treat this disease with one injection in about 2 to 3 months. So we are looking at about $250,000 to $300,000 to do the proof of principle studies.
All right, thank you. Sarah?
Hi. My name is Sarah Bell. I am a co-founder at LeapSheep, and our vision is to flip the 95% startup failure rate. The problem is significant. First-time startup founders have a really big vision. They typically jump, however, to building a software solution. Mostly the reason that founders fail is because they've built a product that nobody wants. But in the process, they typically spend theirs and their family's life savings on inappropriate products. At LeapSheep, we help early stage founders avoid the startup graveyard by guiding them from idea to product market fit with our SaaS plus AI startup builder platform. We're looking for investors who believe that the current waste in the startup ecosystem is unacceptable, and are looking for an evidence-based system to support founders, leading to more startup success and more investor success. We're already delivering this solution to founders, but we're looking to move faster in making our IP completely self-service, allowing us to support many more founders, and we're looking for $400,000 to help us to do that.
Cool, thank you. Benjamin, how about you?
Hi, I'm Benjamin, and let me start my timer. And so my company is Lasers for Innovative Solutions, where essentially it's a new method to view biological samples in a way that's faster. So typically, the process of analyzing a biological structure is very slow and laborious, requires a lot of preparation. And like X-ray and micro CT, MRI, microtoming typically end up yielding black and white data, and it's a very, very slow and expensive process. Major industries that deal with this are agriculture, biomedical, and material science. So the method that I have here is it's a patented method. It's a high-speed laser imaging process where you're able to get full color, three-dimensional, rapid data that has led to gene discovery in corn plants.
Cool, thank you so very much. Chris, and I saw that thing you did was good, where you had your own timer. Great answer.
Thanks, John. We've all experienced interaction with plastics in our lives, and indeed, most of us will responsibly, as good Seattleites, throw it in the recycle bin. But the sad reality is that but a minute fraction of that recycled plastic ever sees anything other than a landfill or being burned. And at the same time, the producers of those consumer products and any number of other specialty chemical products are facing increasing sustainability pressures from both consumers and regulators alike. At Decycle Bio, we're developing a synthetic biology solution that uses the latest AI and ML techniques in reaction pathway search optimization and enzyme engineering to bridge the gap between classical closed loop recycling systems and other anthropogenic mass waste streams to create globally sustainable chemical alternatives for a wide variety of chemical product opportunities. My background as a protein engineer and now serial co-founder of multiple biotechnology companies well positions me to build such a venture, and I'm currently in the process of incubating and looking for co-founders and $1 million pre-seed round.
Cool, thank you. Paul, how about you?
Sir, would you like to live a pain-free and worry-free life? I'm Paul Spujats. I'm an Olympic pole vaulter and the owner of Buddhist Holistic Wellness Center, where we offer affordable, accessible, and high-quality holistic wellness services. We address these problems with four offerings, but two main ones, which is integrated wellness services and event hosting. We are cash flow positive without any investment, and we steadily growing with our strategic and organic marketing. High-quality holistic wellness services are hard to find and trust. Many people struggle to access the comprehensive care that they need and spend yearly over $6 trillion in this industry. Our vision is to become the world's leading destination for holistic wellness and high-frequency vibration services. Our mission is to offer a comprehensive range of holistic services for all ages, promoting physical, mental, and spiritual health using trusted and innovative wellness practices. Thank you.
Thank you. Shoaib.
Hi, everybody. Last but not least, my name is Shoaib, co-founder of Paisley Finance. We all know how expensive it is to live in America, and Gen Z and millennials are feeling this especially. A lot of couples are dating but waiting to get married, and so they live together early, or a lot of best friends buy houses together. And so what we have is an app on our phone that lets you live. If this was in person, it'd be smoother, but it lets you live with people financially very easy. So our product is, we have virtual cards for users that you can go out and purchase things, and it splits instantly. So the problem we see is that people hate receipt jars, people hate Excel sheets, and they want to be able to split expenses way easier. We let you do that without even having to think about it. We just give you a card, you tap it, and you splits. So our market is very big. Our team, I'm a recent UW grad, data engineer, and we have a finance major and a master's and a previous second-time founder as well. Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Thanks very much. Christine, you're next.
Oh, Lord.
Hi. Hi, I'm Christine Schwartz, co-founder of Virtual Round Ballers, and we are developing Wii-type sports games to help kids. Sorry, let me start over. Okay. Hi, I'm Christine Schwartz, co-founder of Virtual Round Ballers, and we're creating Wii-type sports games and mixed realities to help kids become active and ignite their passion for sports. And our first game is a virtual reality basketball game that's completely movement based and allows you to defend against an avatar that's trash talks back to you. And it allows all ages and abilities to compete. And we won the NBA G League Activation Partnership of the Year award last year with the Cleveland Cavaliers, showcasing our game for their G League fans. And our team has co-founders with business backgrounds, and our dev team has expertise in AR, VR training simulations for the Department of Defense, and game designers who've worked with Niantic, Marvel, and Riot Games, to name a few. We're looking for 500K to launch it on the VR app stores, and we hope you'll join us in revolutionizing sports for the next generation.
Cool. Thank you. Do we have, let's see. Anybody else have a desire to pitch and go through anything? No? All right. So let me pick on one thing before we go to our speakers. And let me do the spotlight for everyone. So several of you did we're looking for X amount of dollars thing. And so that would bring up for me the question of what exemption you're using for your fundraising. And if you don't know the answer to that question, then you really need to go and do some homework. So are you using Reg D 506B? Are you using Reg D 504? Are you using Reg CF? Are you using Reg D 506C? Those will matter. If you're using Reg D 506B, which most angel investing is done around, then it prohibits general solicitation. This meeting is a general solicitation space because it's publicly invited. Anybody could be here. So when you're doing pitches, then you don't want to use that particular set of stuff in public, essentially, right? You don't want to say, please invest in me, or I'm raising this amount of money, because most of the lawyers interpret that as a solicitation. So you should think about whether that's the right thing for you to do. Under Reg D 506C or under Reg CF, it's possible to do, but for regular pitches in places that are public, or I would even say semi-public, that's a piece you leave for the second meeting. So yes, Dan.
Yeah, hi. On a similar note, I mean, regulatory concerns aside, what I'm thinking about is with a 1 minute opportunity to kind of catch the interest of whoever you're talking to. I was just generally thinking that those asks, which would typically come in a pitch in a longer format, could be left out entirely in a 1 minute conversation. So you can focus on the other parts of the pitch that are going to generate enough interest for the, say, potential investor to ask you those questions. If the rest of the pitch creates enough interest, then at least for me, the next question is, well, how can I help? What are you looking for? So I would use those 60 seconds, those precious 60 seconds to try to generate that hook. And the question about what are you looking for can follow that when you've got buy-in to a longer conversation.
Right. I think that's perfect. And I want to add to that a little bit, which is part of what the investors are doing when they hear your pitch is they're trying to put you in a box. And so they're trying to anchor where you are in the world, and whether or not you're pre-seed or seed, or whether the check size they're writing is the right check size, or this is the right sector for this group. So sector, geography, and stage of the company are things that might make that 1 minute pitch narrow in faster. But I'll back out, and Ramiro and Elaine, you want to take off on comments for this?
Sure, I can share some notes that I have here. So generally speaking, I will say for all founders, you need to know your audience. Who are the investors you're pitching to? Why? Because, for example, if I look, Matt Sink, you pitched about home-based childcare. That is something that's an investor, it feels attractive to me because I know that space as a user, right? And having children, that is something that I understand. So very well. However, Benjamin Hall, you mentioned something about lasers, which I'm not acquainted at all with. So I was a little bit lost in terms of understanding what is the problem you were trying to solve. So in knowing the background of your investors will allow you to adjust your pitch to either use technical language or non-technical language, and explains with 1 and zeros, or use a more complex set of words to explain. So I will start with that.
And I would say, just to kind of follow up on what Ramiro said, that you should think about all investors as kind of ADD, that we have a hard time focusing, and we need very specific sound bites that follow us through your 1 minute pitch, your 3 minute pitch, your 10 minute pitch, and that we don't get lost. As soon as we get lost, we kind of lose what you have to say, and we're thinking about, oh my goodness, is there something that I'm missing here? And your mind goes off. So really, one of the things you want to do is make sure that you have practiced a real good flow through the important things that we're looking for. And a lot of that is problem, solution, team. A lot of one of the things that we look for early is to understand team. Team is super important. So making sure you tell a little bit about yourself. I heard a couple of market sizes, which is great. Market size then helps lead us into trying to understand what is the potential share that you might be able to get, and what kind of outsized return we might be thinking about. So as Dan kind of said, in that 1 minute pitch, your goal is not to have us write the check. It's really to help us lean in and say, oh, I'm curious enough to know more, and I want to hear the 3 minute pitch. In the 3 minute pitch, I would expect you guys to be able to blow out all the things that I'm looking for. But if you just kind of help me scratch the surface and pique my interest, then I'll lean in.
And I also have
commentary. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I also have some this will fall into, John, what you call like the more of a detail feedback. But if I may,
Yep.
For example, Eugene, you were number 2, your social music platform. To me, same advice as I gave Benjamin. It was kind of unclear, perhaps because I'm not big on in terms of the music world, but to me, it needed a lot more clarity. So number 3, Joanna, you mentioned about your business model being based on marketing for local businesses, but as we all know, local businesses, downtowns are struggling. Why will this business model you know, to me, it was like a red flag as an investor. Oh, local businesses are struggling, especially in downtowns, and you come with a business model that is trying to tap into struggling businesses. So you will need to address that in that 1 minute pitch. Otherwise, I will give it a pass immediately. So then we have genomics. So fat and liver disease. In the past couple of years, there have been an explosion of healthcare startups, especially in coming here, John. And why liver and disease? Why should we, as investors, focus and put our money in fat and liver disease resolution among the myriads of healthcare opportunities we're pitched every single week? So I think you should differentiate that in that 1 minute pitch with a few sentences. Sarah Bell, the lip shop. So it was unclear to me how, I mean, yes, what you said totally resonated with me, right? But how? So the how and the why you is, yes, I love the idea, but if you don't tell me why you and how you're trying to get there, I will immediately put a question mark on the execution side. I already addressed Benjamin, Chris, Pierre, recycled plastic. Yes, that is a huge problem. Just the topic itself helps you. So, however, for non-technical people who are non-technical, and maybe you should try to explain with bits and bytes, ones and zeros more easily. Paul Dujat, I love the way you structured your presentation. Attention grabbing opening sentence, that was amazing. So when you mentioned that you are cash flow positive, you are really honing in on investors who are less risk averse. So that was great. Again, adding your vision and your mission as well helps tremendously. Perhaps a little bit more to improve will be on your team. Why your team are positioned to take your idea to be a home run. I'll stop there. I have a couple of more, but I'll stop there so that I don't want to monopolize, and I'll come back with a couple of others, other recommendations.
Dan, how about you?
Yeah, first, thank you, everybody. I know how hard it is to convey, all that you're working on in such a short opportunity to do so. And I think Elena described it as ADHD, the inability maybe for someone who's listening to you to stay tuned in to what you're talking about. And I think for me, on my own experience, it's just a little bit of overwhelm, quite frankly. Like whether it's a setting like this where I'm trying to scribble notes fast enough to keep up before the next person is presenting, or an in-person setting where I've never been, had the experience of being an extremely popular person until I had a name tag that said angel investor on it, and having lots of conversations. And so I'm having to learn to sort of find mental shortcuts to kind of, I think John said, sort of put something, put an opportunity into a box. And for me, the primary boxes initially are just, is this something I'm interested in learning more about? Is this something I'm going to, generate enough interest to want to follow up with a longer conversation or questions? And I think, in the shorter format, especially, being able to convey in really simple terms, the problem that you're focused on solving, the thing that you have that is going to make it possible or even likely that you may solve that problem, and then some evidence, if it's not self-evident, about why anybody cares about a problem enough to pay for it. And so sometimes storytelling, metaphor, example, a real customer example, or as in some cases was done, trying to find something that really resonates with the person you're talking to. And if you're solving a problem that a lot of people are personally connected to, that makes it, that can make it easier. For example, the childcare problem. I don't know what fraction of the population is a parent, but anyone who is, it probably resonates pretty easily with the childcare problem. If it's a specific, deep technology problem, it might be a little bit harder. And so maybe you know, a metaphor or storytelling, or even just describing the problem in non-technical language can make that easier. But you know, you know, I'm trying to keep the feedback sort of general at this point. But again, coming down to that point where, you know, with 60 scarce seconds, finding the, you know, not trying to answer every question, not trying to even tell the entire story, but focused on the things that are going to likely, you know, create the biggest, you know, the cliffhanger, the interest that's going to want the audience, the person listening to you, to want to hear more.
Cool. Any other important comments that will help people be effective?
I have a couple more just for Shoaib and for Christine. For Shoaib, great opening. Expensive to live in America. All of us can you know, feel the connection to that. It's very interesting concept, split expenses app. So however, you still need to get it a little bit further in showcasing what categories will be, you know, will people, most probably investors, feel that there is a great opportunity, you know, for the market there. So are you talking about specifically real estate and showcase that in 10 seconds? Or are you talking about cars, or are you talking about something else? And maybe just explain, yes, my app is not, we're not thinking about these categories, but those categories, and why. That will be helpful. As well, you also mentioned, I'm a recent UW grad. So what will give investors the peace of mind to say, well, a recent UW grad, what other, you know, advisor will have to take this to market, right? Or, well, I don't need advisor because XYZ. Christine Schwartz, the We Type games. I think you could, you know, the example you brought about the Cavaliers was great. I think you can still improve your 1 minute pitch just by, you know, leveraging recent trends such as the explosive growth of games and that we have seen recently in the market, and that for investors is like an eye opener. Oh yes, this has been a trend that we as investors want to really leverage, and this is an opportunity for that. Plus, you know, the need to de-screen kids and this with the We type of approach, we are trying to achieve both things, right? So I think there is an opportunity to make your pitch more attractive by leveraging those macro trends that we have seen as investors in the last couple of years.
The other thing I'd add is John put into the chat a list of things to be thinking about in a pitch, which I think is great. And I know, as Dan said, in a 1 minute pitch, it's totally challenging to fit that all in. One of the things that perks my interest, though, as you're going through the highlights, is if you have one piece of traction that you want me to, you just want to highlight, that is when you're looking for hooks to get me to go from the 1 minute to the 3 minute. The traction piece is something I'll always kind of glom on because that's always something, ooh, what do I want to hear more? And sometimes I get pushback from early founders that say, hey, I don't have revenue, so there's no traction I can talk about. And that's totally not true. So when you think about early companies, do you have letters of intent? Do you have any evidence that customers are willing to pay for your service, even if they're not paying for that now? So I always kind of try and look to see what are some of those traction sound bites to fit in to pique my interest for the next conversation.
Cool.
And when I think about traction, because I have had a lot of conversations with very early opportunities, it's like, for me, it boils down to some external stakeholder, some external person who's willing to put something on the line to be part of what you're building. And so later on, that might be revenue, but early on, it could be just time spent. It could be reputation. a collaborator willing to put their name, next to your company's name. The mention of engagement with the Cleveland Cavaliers, for example, got my interest, as Elaine said, because it's sort of validation that someone else has looked at this opportunity, found it interesting enough to become associated with it. So even if that was a partnership that had no revenue associated with it, I think that's still a great that was definitely something that represented traction for a very early company that sounded interesting from my perspective.
Cool.
Totally.
So let's go on to the 3 minutes. So I have 9 companies. I think we had 10 that pitched, so I'm missing someone. Birdhouse, City Games, Sully Group, Leap Sheep, Decycle Bio, Buddha's Holistic Wellness Center, Virtual Ballers, Paisley Finance, Lat Scan. Who am I missing?
Lasers for Innovative Solutions, is that up there?
I think that's Lat Scan.
Did I get the name right?
Yeah,
LatScan. Okay.
That lab scan's the technology. The company is
LatScan.
Lasers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Then I will turn this into a poll. Let me get the link here. And so if you would go to this link and vote for 3, that would be great. And this is a thing we do regularly of generating the choices.
Does everyone vote?
Everyone votes.
Okay.
Which one do you want to hear more from? Which one was interesting, but just not that interesting enough to put them on stage again? That's the being terrible is not the problem. Being good, but not good enough is the problem, right? You have to figure out how to be remarkable, right?
So here is another problem. So I have names of founders, but not names of companies.
So do I.
So in everybody's, so Matt has done a great job and he's put in Birdhouse. Joanna's put in City Games, Seattle. Christine's got our virtual round ballers. But to help us, can everybody else as a founder who, like Sarah, for instance, I'll just pick on you. Sarah, can you put in your name?
Company name, yep.
Quickly, so we all know who goes with what.
Oh yeah, into the chat, yeah.
And then I would say that is a good kind of everlasting piece of advice. Probably make sure you have your name of your company, say it at least 3 in the beginning, in the middle, in the end, to make sure we know what your company is and how to get a hold of you.
I am currently at 8 votes. I see that there are 24 people here. I'm not voting, so that's 23. So I'll wait a little bit more. I'm at 13 votes. I'm at 15 votes now. Another minute, and then I'll call it. Anybody have any thoughts they want to put into the chat that we should pay attention to when we get to our discussion at the end? Please feel free to do that. I'm at 18 votes. All right. So when I look at this, I see that Birdhouse is 1 and Decycle Bio is 2. And then we have a 3-way tie here. Flat Scan, Virtual Ballers, and Leap Sheep. So then, there's still 2 people that could vote. So I'm getting side comment here that I should consider a different one. So Birdhouse, Decycle, and I think Virtual Ballers is the one that we'll go with. Yeah, because that was the revote that was said privately in the chat. And then if we've got time left at the end, we'll do the other 2. Is everybody okay with that? Hearing no objections. Are all 3 of those, Birdhouse, Decycle, and Virtual Ballers, ready to do the 3-minute pitch?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Well, cool. We'll put you up first.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yep.
In the 3-minute pitch, do you want me to, like, I guess we just went through a lot of people, so I guess it's just kind of repeating the information and then expanding upon it. Is that accurate?
I would tell you that you have already done the 1-minute pitch, people. They already know that. I would
Okay.
come at it at a slightly different angle. One of the things that I use for evaluating the Seattle Angel Conference people is when we get the 1-minute pitch and then a longer 1-minute pitch and then a longer 1-minute pitch, it's still not paying attention to the audience. So as you build relationship, you should be, going down and answering the next set of questions and creating more excitement in some way, right? Again, the goal of every pitch has to be being remarkable. Are you ready?
Cool. Let's try it out.
I've got my 3-minute timer. When you start talking, I'll start it.
Okay, give me 1 sec.
You want to do slides, by the way?
Yeah, I actually think slides would be helpful. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Great.
The little green one on the bottom shares the slides.
Yep. Okay, so I talked a little bit about already the team. I'll go back to it just really quickly just to recap everyone. I'm Matt. I was COO of a EU seed stage startup called The Village, where we operated 70 micro schools that was a franchise network of micro schools from 0 to 5 across multiple countries in the EU. My background as well, from an operational perspective, comes from operational leadership roles, both at Uber and early stage Uber, and also at Spin, which was an electric scooter startup acquired by Ford. I built a team from 0 to over 1,000 team members and 100 million in ARR. Sydney, my co-founder, is honestly the best marketing and brand person I've ever worked with in my career. She started agency side, and then I met her and actually hired her as VP of marketing at The Village in the EU. And we wanted to go off together and start, kind of our own project in the US, taking the experience and knowledge that we had from The Village. Talked about the market. I think the one thing I'll add here is it's a huge market, but there's also just a huge amount of untapped market. Over 70% of providers experience excess demand for childcare slots. I'm going to keep going here. I talked a little bit about this already, but just to kind of touch upon it again, there's the really strong correlation. If you look at, this is Seattle as an example, of these areas that are in desperate need of just more supply and more quality options for care. and the correlation between the lack of commercial real estate availability in these areas. So if you think of Magnolia as an example, it's just a highly residential area where there's just not commercial space. So there needs to be more solutions. And we've called every single childcare center or like home-based center in these areas. And there's just wait lists on wait lists on wait lists. And this is, you'll see this in pretty much every other city as well. We've called every single center and home-based center in Miami, New York, Austin, and Seattle. Another thing that I didn't touch upon in the 1 minute pitch is we're also dealing with a massive teacher shortage in the US. So there's over a deficit of over 150,000 workers. And really what happened here was COVID hit, a lot of teachers got laid off because centers closed and they just didn't come back. And the reason for that is teachers are heavily underpaid. And they went to other areas where they could make more money, to be honest. And so when you think about childcare in general, oh, sorry, I got a call. Let me just reshare. When you think about childcare in general,
We're at time.
oh, okay, wow, that went fast. Okay.
Yeah. So, Elaine, you want to start off?
Sure, thanks, Matt. I really kind of glommed onto your concept because I got it, is the commercial lack of commercial real estate, need for a solution.
Yep.
Got it. And I think that point is well made, especially with your visual. What we need to do is then quickly get to, well, what is your solution?
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
So, and that to me is key for everyone, right? The big thing I always need to understand is what is the problem, and what's the solution? Why would people pay for that solution? And then why are you the people to deliver that solution?
Mm-hmm.
So if you can convince me of those things up front, winning strategy. I would not necessarily start with your team. I think it's almost with the strength of your team, I would end with your team. Because I want you to hook me with that problem and how you're solving that problem. But at this stage, as I kind of talked about earlier, we are investing in kind of team.
Yeah.
And more than likely in this stage, you will pivot. But you won't necessarily change your team.
Yeah.
So what we're looking for is investing in the smart, bright people that can tackle this problem and go on the journey with you. And so that's one of the things that we're looking for when you're kind of going through the team piece. I am sure that you, in your slide deck, have the rest of the filling out of what I'm looking for. So then you know exactly what I'm going to say, but everybody else should know it. And I think, I'm sorry, who was it who, just so I can give the kudos out, was it Benjamin? It's good for you to have practiced the time period that we have and also have your kind of own timer, because one of the things we're looking for is how practiced are you at what you're doing, because that is an example of how much effort you're putting into the time you're taking from me. So I appreciate all of that. And I know that everybody coming into here didn't necessarily know the 1 minute and 3 minute. So this is all just helpful advice as you move forward.
Thanks so much. This is super helpful advice. Thank you.
Dan?
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, when I think about understanding a problem, hearing a new pitch, a new opportunity, usually for me, it's problems that either I readily understand and believe the problem exists, or it's a novel problem that I didn't know about before. And I think depending on which type of problem you're you're trying to solve, you have different different opportunity or different sort of need to sort of provide the follow-up to that. So in your case, I readily believe that there is a problem with insufficient trustworthy and affordable childcare. Like to me, that's a really simple, at least that's how I'm understanding that your problem in a simple way. So when you have a simple problem or a problem that's readily understandable, then the next question is, and which I think is a challenge for you to address, is why is that problem not yet solved? I think you gave us maybe part of that question, but it's sort of like the short line at the toll booth. If everybody sees the open line of the toll booth, it quickly fills in. And so if you're describing a problem that's sort of a short line of the toll booth, and yet it's not yet been filled in, then the third part of this is why are you likely to succeed in solving a problem that everybody readily acknowledges or believes in, but there's not a current solution for. And so I think in the case of Birdhouse, you can describe your problem with a very simple problem statement. Then it's, again, for me, it's the focus on, if I readily believe that this problem exists, why is there not already a solution, and how's your company positioned to solve that problem, with some sort of, differential advantage?
And I will just add, just tagging to what Elaine explained, you really hit it off with a lack of commercial real estate example, but then you run out of time for the solution. I will just say, it seems that your presentation is really well thought. So I will just say, identify those, rapid fire nuggets that will convince people, and include those in your 3-minute pitch that you need to practice. And potentially, if when you mention lack of commercial real estate, and then you go to the solution, potentially if you have a few seconds, to address potential pushback. So for example, even though not everybody in Magnolia is going to be willing to set a home-based care center. So even when not everybody will be able to be doing that, the way we're thinking about it is XYZ, whatever that is, because that is the first thing that came to my mind is, well, now everybody in Magnolia is going to be a home-based center, child center. No, right? So, and you can do that in 7 seconds or 8 seconds. So, and that's it.
Cool. Just reflecting on what all of you have said, I think, just generally, I think for me, like a takeaway that I can have is, I've practiced the 1-minute pitch multiple times now, and I've probably pitched the 30-minute pitch like 100 times. But the 3-minute is like a new thing for me to practice, and that's why I'm here, and just kind of like practicing and learning. And I really appreciate all of the feedback about just kind of the different aspects of the presentation and thinking about the problem. Dan, I really like how you kind of are thinking about, like, okay, I know this problem, how do we, like, what's the unique take to it, or like, why isn't it done before? And I think that's a really fair question. And yeah, would love to have a chance to share more, but yeah.
So Matt, in your bag of tricks, I would have a 1, 3, 10, 30.
Yeah. Good to know.
Yep.
All right, I'll get the 3 and 10 down then.
Excellent.
And
thanks.
And we have been making the final demo day 5-minute pitches. So if you get to the 3-minute in SAC, you should cook the 5-minute one. Nonetheless, thank you for pitching. We will bring Chris up next. Chris,
thank you, John. Yep. Let me just, if I can go to presentation mode here and then share screen, I think. Maybe. Let's try and do this. Okay. Oops. this in slideshow mode now? You guys see that?
Yep, looks good. Ready when you are.
Great. Okay. So at Decycle Bio, we talk a lot about, you know, catalyzing the unnatural. And what we mean by that is, you know, taking products that humans have made that are otherwise not connected with the biosphere, and using biotechnology to bring those into a state where they can sort of reintegrate with Mother Nature. We talked a little bit before about the scale of the problem of plastic pollution. As an example here, and we all interact with it, but very few of us think about the fact that there are 8.3 billion metric tons that have been produced. And now as the scale, the graph here suggests, you know, some 400 million tons annually produced across a range of different plastic types that have varying degrees of recyclability, none of which are meaningfully recycled. And taken together, this waste stream and the variety of others that we produce as a species, you know, generate billions of dollars of costs to our society. That is a growing problem that we will have to come to grips with through our generation, future generations, if we're to continue to habitate on this planet. At the other side of our market space is the global specialty chemicals industry. Some of the sort of brand name, household names you see here on the left and others are facing growing pressures from consumers and government entities alike to achieve sustainability, circularity, and to really be able to deliver the solutions that they do that are important in our society, and yet you know, need to be able to reconcile some of the problems they've created historically. Indeed, that awareness has led them to invest a significant proportion of their spending towards sustainability. And this creates a tremendous market opportunity for us as we think about bridging the gap between these waste streams and ingredient supply for these chemical companies. We do so in a way that fundamentally departs the way that synthetic biology and sustainable solutions for chemistry have been approached historically. By and large, we have approached this problem using traditional microbial systems. The small graph on the left shows an example of what microbial metabolism sometimes looks like. This is what nature has evolved. And while astounding at one level, it is exquisitely difficult to engineer because it's a pre-engineered system by nature, which evolved into a niche that is completely unrelated from the ask. Modern tools have advanced and allowed us to now sort of unconstrain that reaction pathway search space as suggested in the neighboring image. And this dramatically improves our ability to enhance theoretical yields for these types of biotransformations and achieve really meaningful, not just cost parity, but cost improvement towards market integration. And indeed, we layer on top of that toolkit an ability to adapt enzymatic systems to be able to conduct those transformations at low cost, low temperature, and scalable ways.
Okay, you're at the end of time.
Okay, thank you.
Can you drop your slides for a sec? Actually,
yeah, sorry.
rather than dropping your slides, put them back up for a sec and just go through them really fast. Bang, 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 bang.
Oh, I have a bunch more. This is not a slide deck that's tailored to the 3 minutes. So.
All right. So, Dan, you want to go first?
Yes, Chris, thank you for presenting that. You know, I guess one of the shortcuts I mentioned earlier, sort of the mental shortcuts I've had to learn to take now that I've had the opportunity to, you know, be introduced to, meet a number of founders in early stage companies, is sort of the imagine if shortcut. And I think when you have a complex problem, I think like you're just beginning to describe, I like this sort of framework of imagine if as a way of simplifying the problem in a way that like, you know, the person listening can easily kind of get hooked into that. And I don't, to be honest, fully understand the particular problem that you're aimed to focus at, or we've begun to get a taste of what the solution might be. But in my head, I've already formed this sort of imagine if statement that, you know, I guess will be telling about how well aligned it is to the problem you're really working for. So I'm thinking that, you know, you might be talking about, you know, imagine if, you know, another ounce of plastic never went into a landfill. And if that is if you're telling me that, if you're telling me, imagine if another ounce of plastic never went into a landfill, then as a listener to that, I'm hooked, right? I want to believe that that's a world that's possible. And if I can believe that that's a world that's possible, it's sort of self-evident to me, the opportunity from a sort of, you're solving a big problem and there's a big investment opportunity if you're successful in doing so that's attached to that. And so I think that to me, you know, this is sort of, again, general feedback that in these shorter opportunities to sort of convey the message, convey your story, finding the simple frameworks or language and literal language, word choices to do that in, I think can help make that connection that opportunity as effective as possible.
Cool, Ramiro?
I would just kind of like say what Dan said in kind of a different way, just to kind of nail the point home. I have an applied physics degree, but I have no idea what you're talking about. Let's just be totally honest here, right? So, and the problem, like, you don't have to spend a lot of time on the problem. I get we have a plastic problem, right? It is, what is your solution? And I'm trying to figure out, do you have a platform solution that will support many products moving forward? Do you have a licensing solution, right? I don't know enough about when you're talking about enzyme optimization and where you're going with that and how that combines with AI and ML, right? I work with AI and ML and I still don't know what you're talking about. So one of the things I think, and again, this is general feedback for everyone, every industry has their short little words that just kind of go into your language. AI, ML is an example of that. Right? When you're talking to investors, you should assume they do not know what you're talking about. And you have to, in a very nice way, dumb it down to a very simple solution, because you do not want your investors to get stuck on your solution. You, in 3-minute pitch, you have to hit traction, team, you know, size of market, where what your timeline looks like, financial return. You've got to get through a lot. And for me, I couldn't even get your solution. So, and I think this is just good feedback. You should assume that your investor does not know your industry. And so if you assume your investor does not know your industry, how do you do that, lead them along so that they understand what you're putting in place? Chris, your problem is not unique. Your problem is what I see 8 out of 10 times, right? And so what I challenge everyone on the call to do is think about it from the investor side, not the founders. So what would we need to know to invest? And how do we understand that? As Dan's kind of saying, okay, let's put it in terms that everyone could understand. Because really what you want me to be able to do is at the end of the 3-minute pitch, turn around and talk to the other investors that I talk to and be able to give your 1-minute pitch, right? But I have to know enough about it through that 3-minute pitch to be able to understand it. So you have to de-industry it, de-short, all of those little words that I don't understand, so that somebody who does not know the industry lingo can go around and advocate for you. And if you think about it that way, I think you might create a much more approachable kind of pitch that can really get some communication and questions forth. Make sense? Okay.
Ramiro.
Yeah, I will just say, if there is one thing and one thing only that you should improve is exactly what Elaine referred to. I'm just saying times two, right? So being able to explain why combining AI and machine learning, with enzyme optimization makes a difference compared to what is available in the market and what other founders are doing. So explain it to an investor audience. So that's it. That's the number one thing. Now, if I have 30 more seconds to give you feedback, then I will say, well, your opening can be crisper, shorter, more impactful. Fortunately for you, this is an area with a lot of us are already acquainted with a pain point. What is waste? In your first slide, your opening slide, you can spend a lot less time and make it. Let me use the word dramatic. Make it more dramatic so that people just with one image and a few words will say, got it, move on. You convince me with the first slide that this is a huge thing I'm acquainted with, right? 3 seconds, move on, and you make a big impact with a more dramatic entry. Generally speaking, you have a lot of wording, too long titles, and the images need to tell more. Right now, the images are very plain. So yeah, you're trying to convince an audience as opposed to explain a project to your colleagues, right? And that's it.
Thank you all for the feedback. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much. Christine, I think you're next.
Okay. Virtual Round Ballers, like I said, is creating Wii-type sports games in mixed reality to help kids worldwide become more active and ignite their passion for sports. And according to the World Health Organization, 81% of youth worldwide are now considered physically inactive, meaning that they're not even spending an hour a day being active. And they're spending way more time on screens than even playing sports. And we hope to change that by meeting them where they are in mixed reality. And with Apple entering the marketplace, mixed reality is poised for explosive growth and already projected to become 25 billion in 10 years, with gaming leading the way. And our virtual reality basketball game, which is movement-based and designed to allow all abilities and ages to compete in a fun, engaging way, was featured, as I mentioned, with the Cleveland Cavaliers, their G League home games, and we also did the Cav playoff games, and have a partnership in place with them that we've been invited to test any new aspects of the game with them. And also to validate the realism of the game, we're working with Chris Mullin, an NBA legend. And while most games in mixed reality are still video games with controllers, we've taken a different approach to the market by utilizing the best of what VR has to offer, that realistic aspect and unrestricted movement. And we've designed the gameplay to be movement-based, so you're not pressing buttons, but it's rather based on natural motions of your hands. And the physics are extremely accurate, where the ball reacts to your physical movements in a realistic way. And we have the dev team to create this with their expertise in developing AR/VR training simulations for special forces of the DoD, and they've been doing that for over 10 years, as well as game designers and animators who work with Disney, Marvel, Niantic, Riot Games, and others. And as co-founders, I have a background in business in marketing, some sales, and accounting for entrepreneurial and startup companies. And the monetization strategy is based on downloading the game for purchase, as well as downloadable characters to compete against, which will feature both male and female college players, and also NBA legends, as well as WNBA. So we have representation from all of those, and also looking to sign on pro international players as we expand our target market to an international base who love basketball and sports in general. And then the vision is to develop a multiplayer one-on-one, two-on-two game, and with that success, go into other sports. So join us in getting kids off the couch and into the game.
Cool. Thank you so much. Let me bring folks up. Elaine?
Great, Christine. Thank you so much. Appreciate that 3-minute pitch. So I have to say, I was sitting here wondering when I heard your 1-minute pitch, well, why do kids need to be prodded to go get physical? So I totally appreciate the fact that you went and did your data. I'm a total data geek. So little spots of data here and there really help me. So the fact that 81% of kids worldwide are physically inactive just totally freaking blows my mind. So I can understand that that's a problem worth trying to solve. So my mind then next stop goes to, well, is virtual reality and the headsets required as ubiquitous as a basketball? So to me, that's a challenge I would like to talk to you about further to understand from a, I mean, there are a lot of basketball courts throughout the country, and right now there aren't a lot of virtual reality headsets that kids have access to around the country. So in your data gathering, I would like to understand that piece moving forward. That would be a kind of, to me, a barrier to entry that pops up that I go, oh, okay, that would be great to understand. What I then loved about what you talked about is how you have integrated NBA, WNBA kind of icons in helping you create your product so it's realistic, and that you have partnered with an NBA team to get feedback and exposure. Awesome. You know, really great. So what I would like to know more about then is your team, and why are you that team that can take this to market and beyond? So you talked about the fact that you have developers, but I don't know what that whole team looks like. So one of the things that Dan and Ramiro and I look for is, well, what does that team consist of and what holes do they have? So at this level, the team always has holes because you guys are early. But the question is okay, do you know you have holes and how are you going to fill them? So that team, when you put slides together, that team slide will be super important for us. And I love your ending. And I think that's that cool tagline, join us getting kids off the couch and into the game. I would kind of use that on a number of different things, because that to me is a great close, helps me remember what you're doing and how important it is that you're doing it. So thank you.
Cool.
Great,
Ramiro.
thank you.
Yes, I will just add, Christine, from the 1-minute pitch through the 3-minute pitch, I saw a huge improvement. So kudos for that. That was a huge improvement. In the 3-minute pitch, you showed a really structured approach, which was lacking on the 1-minute one. So that is great. Now, what I will say is things that you can improve in the 3-minute pitch include visual support. That was lacking, right? A presentation, the visual support will make miracles. So use your intonation, for whether to assess assertiveness or dramatization or whatnot. So use your intonation to help you in guiding the audience to certain clues that are important for investors. And number 3, I think Elena, you already mentioned that, but where will kids play? Compared to the basketball court that are already out there. So where will kids play? And number 4, is this an idea only? Do you have a proof of concept? So, well, yeah, you mentioned something about the Cavaliers, but I guess mentioning a little bit more about the traction, giving a little bit more detail about the traction will be helpful as a proof of market interest beyond what you said about the Cavaliers. So yeah, they tested it, and then what? So now you need the money, even though when they tested it, then you need the money to go and also, convince the MLS to try it. That will be a huge thing. Oh, I already convinced a basketball team. Now I want to convince, the whole league, or I want to go to the MLS or the whole NBA, or I don't know. But at least trying to say this is the traction, and we, Mr. and Miss Investors, with your money, this is how we're going to take it to the next step.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Christine, thank you. You know, I appreciated that you both opened and closed with sort of describing a problem that, you know, that is simple and resonates, right? That kids today are not as active as they used to be. And I think inherently, you know, well, at least from my experience as a parent, I would love my kids to be more active. And I think you presented well on some of the things that differentiate the company, both from a sort of team perspective and a product product approach perspective, and also provided some really interesting proxies for interesting evidence of traction. As I was saying before, I think traction can be described in non-revenue sense, and through the partnerships that you talked about, through through affiliation of people willing to put their time and their reputation on the line through association. That is interesting representation of traction that you've gotten to date. I think the thing that for me is that I have all of that has got me now interested to be thinking more and wanting to learn more. And I think the thing that now I'm most interested in learn more about or have more clarity on is what the market opportunity is here. And I think one of the things I didn't have clarity on that is competition for what the competition in the space to solve this problem. And by that, that competition could be direct competition, but I think probably because meaning other mixed reality gaming companies. But I think the bigger opportunity might be better described by indirect competition. Who else is out there trying to solve the problem of kids not being active enough? That is, there's going to be competition for that it comes in lots of different forms, and it's not just going to be someone else building mixed reality gaming. That would be the area that I think there's an opportunity to strengthen at this stage, in this sort of 3-minute, longer than the elevator pitch, but still not comprehensive, not a full 30-minute partner pitch setting, is to then lean a little bit further into, okay, I'm interested in the problem. You've given me some of it, convinced me that there's an opportunity that you might solve this problem. And so now the next thing for me is if you do create an interesting solution to this problem, from an economic perspective, what does the investment opportunity look like? Is that compellingly interesting to continue talking? So.
All right, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. I don't see Benjamin here anymore, but I see Sarah here. So if it's okay with you, at the time that we've got remaining, we'll do one more with Sarah and do feedback, and then I'll try and leave 15 minutes at the end for breakout rooms. Any objections? No? Are you ready, Sarah?
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay.
Wait. I gotta get you on Spotlight and not me. There we go. All right, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So our vision at Leap Sheep is to flip the 95% startup failure rate. My name is Sarah Bell. I'm a co-founder with Leap Sheep, and we've been working on this problem for 9 years. So one of the biggest problems that we find is that of the 5 million new founders per year, which is only increasing every year, most of these founders go on to lose their savings building a product that nobody wants. About 20% of these founders are also spending about $50,000 a year on services that they just don't need, like developing software before they've spoken to a single potential paying customer. And it's this core mistake that we find causes founders to fail. Now, founders are learning on the job. They're trying to work out what to do and how to do it. Existing solutions just haven't moved the needle on startup failure, which is still really high at about 95%. Accelerators, for example, whilst they're great, they typically, whilst some are great, many are supporting founders to get to demo day to pitch to investors rather than focusing on finding and validating their first entry point to market. Instead, founders need accessible, quality, ongoing support on their approach to find their first customers and get traction. Now, our solution at LeapSheep is to digitize startup building. So over the last 9 years, we have built up our startup builder solution as a body of knowledge. And we use that body of knowledge to diagnose where a founder is at and prescribe the right actions at the right time, along with helping founders to course correct based on validation or invalidation that they are getting from the market to help them to get their first customers and get on the journey to product market fit. Our focus now is on digitizing this solution to help founders at scale. Now, just like YouTube opened up content creation, once you have digital platforms that are cheaper and more accessible, the size of the market expands dramatically to people with an idea or existing businesses who are looking to innovate. And we believe that our potential market could be over 100 billion by 2030. Now, our core team have spent the last 9 years building and testing our startup builder system and building and supporting hundreds of startups so that we can reliably support founders on that journey to product market fit. In terms of our traction, we've had over 250 paying subscribers using our current model, and our impact for those subscribers is 10x the industry average for survival rates and for capital raising. We're generating and developing our unique IP based on what creates founder success, and we are currently ramen profitable. Our core focus now is on building our self-service SaaS plus AI experience and on working on our branding and marketing. In terms of our business model, so right now we have a human-centered business model, and we are moving from that to SaaS plus AI delivery and pricing so that we can support all founders anywhere in the world. In terms of what we're seeking, right now we're seeking relationships with investors who believe that the billions of dollars wasted by founders is unacceptable and who are looking for systems that support early stage founders to be successful. Here's a few of our testimonials, and here is how you can contact me.
Cool. Thank you. And let's bring folks up.
And thanks for the opportunity to pitch as well, John.
Yes. So Dan, you want to head off or start off?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. I'm of the impression, and this might be a mistaken impression, but I'm of the impression that the early part of the business was very much might be sort of described as a service-oriented business. A lot of you said human-centered, hands-on interactions with startups, and I think there's a valuable opportunity there. You know, all of the learning from that to inform, you know, sounds like a new reshaping of the business from a service business to potentially a productizing, you know, becoming a product business built on those learnings. So I guess what for me, that makes me think about this differently, you know, than I might if it was a earlier, you know, chronologically an earlier stage company. And that means I'm trying to understand the likelihood of success about translating that successful service business into a product that can be scaled at high profitability, high margins. So that's where I would like, you know, I think there's an opportunity to clarify or strengthen that part of the story at this stage, because I think the earlier part of the story could be, you know, is a little bit, you know, is something that I'm willing to sort of take at face value, that the company's been successful delivering, you know, this service to startups, and now I'm interested in understanding how that translates to what looks more like an investable, you know, venture technology company. And I'm not quite sure what shape that takes for you and for the company at this stage, but I think because that's where I'm left wanting to know more. That's the feedback I have, is to be able to lean a little bit more into that and try to present evidence that's going to get me to believe and be interested in learning more about that translation to a product company.
Yep, great feedback.
Thank you.
Lane?
Sarah, thanks for pitching. One of the things I think you will find is that many investors kind of don't need too much pushing that this is a problem. But I do like what you're saying in terms of, hey, the benefit is not only to the founders, but it's to the investors, because what that means is that we have much more buttoned up founders coming to get funded. One of the things that I think would really help you, and you have it buried in your slides, I think, but when we talk about the failure rate and you say you have, you know, for the paid subscribers that you have, that metric has improved. So understanding and being able to put it in some kind of terms is a really good soundbite to say, you know, and I don't know what it is if you're doing it by the capital raise, if you're doing it by length of time, if you're, you know, I don't know how you're measuring, but you have a couple data points in your traction slide.
Yep.
So to be able to kind of say that, like, is another thing that kind of says, oh, I want to hear more. What I didn't hear enough of, surprisingly, is your solution. So I understand that you say you have a solution and you have paying customers, but I'm not quite sure I understand what you're giving them. And the fact that unlike almost anything else, any of these other ideas that other founders are coming for to talk about us today, we understand this. And so we have a sense of knowing what we think should be in the solution. So understanding if we're aligning with that, or just to kind of go a little bit deeper, I think would help us lean in to ask for the 10-minute pitch.
Yep.
Kind of on what you are delivering in your service. So again, following up from what Dan says, I think what you're saying in your first kind of couple chapters, you are a consulting business. And you through your consulting business of years over years, you figured out what were some of the key things to get subscribers to pay, right? So now you say, okay, you want to scale. And so those key things, what are those key things? And assuming those key things are what you're digitizing and putting in your platform, there is a big difference between hand-holding somebody in person and having them self-serve. So that transition and understanding how that would work, and then your pricing model with that, are the things that I'm looking for as you move forward. I liked your team slide and team approach, and the fact that you know, it's a broader team that has a lot of wide experience, international, all of that kind of stuff. So great on that. But I think from your perspective, you are ready to, since you have revenue, you're revenue positive, you're ready to make sure you are hitting a couple more of those things in that 3-minute pitch. So as Dan said on a previous one, you know, what do you consider as your competition? What are your recent wins? What are the financial kind of 5-year projections that you're expecting from your business? Because again, when we kind of go through this, founders usually say the split between, they talk 80% about their business and 20% about what investors want to hear. And I challenge everyone to flip that around and have 80% of what investors want to hear and 20% about the business. So what we're looking for is, hey, what's a quick 15-second snapshot of the 5-year financial? What's that market size you're talking about? And what do you think you can capture? So now all of a sudden you got us interested in what kind of returns. Are we talking 1x? Are we talking 2x? Are we talking 5x? Are we talking 30x, right? Because again, as John said, we're trying to fit you into a box. And we're trying to understand, are you a single, double, or a home run?
Yep.
So that would help us immensely.
Great.
Great,
Thank
thanks.
you. Is there anything I could have taken out to fit
Yes.
that in?
Yes, lock.
Okay.
I'll let Ramiro go, and then I'll come back and see if I have an answer for you.
Yeah, thank you. I think very crisp presentation. It is noticeable that you have put a lot of effort there. So great presentation skills. Perhaps a few minor, things to improve include making, not putting like a whole paragraph or 2 sentences there at the beginning, but that's a minor thing. That the elephant in the room, in reality, Sarah, is what both Dan and Elaine already referred to, which is that body of knowledge that you have first as a service and you're trying to productize. Why will a founder, really crave for that body of knowledge in a digitized form? Why? To me, if I'm a founder, so I can go to an accelerator or an incubator or a group of investors that have the right, operating experience, and therefore yours is yet another one that say, well, that's a fourth option. Let me compare the 3 of them, right? So if you tell me, well, the reason behind is we are digitizing, the decision-making prowess of top venture capitalists at Sequoia Capital and Kleiner Perkins and Andreessen Horowitz, then I will be sold immediately, right? But if you tell, why will I as a founder say, instead of spending my time with an incubator A, X, Y, Z, or accelerator 1, 2, 3, or all these group of investors who are bringing money, and therefore I'm willing to give them a spot as my advisors, why will they crave for this content? That is the big elephant in the room.
Yep. No, great feedback. Thank you.
Cool. So I don't want to cut short our time that we've got, and so I'm gonna see if I can drop all of you a little bit here and get us to the group view. We have a set of breakout rooms set up. Although we've been dropping people rapidly, you can move around and chat with each other and talk a little bit more. We'll stop at 2 o'clock. And if you want to talk to me, I'll be in the main room. So you should see rooms at this point.